Hello, welcome to Wednesday workshop with Erin. Whenever you happen to be watching this, we're live every Wednesday at 12:30 to 1:30 Eastern. And the link to join is in the description below, as is my contact information. Reach out with any questions. Today, we are rounding out our journey through chapter 8 of Yoga for the Creative Soul, the Bhakti yoga path to realizing the true self. Enlightenment, if samadhi, is called many things. And so as we round out the chapter, we're going to talk a little bit about the bhavana, the embodied state, the virtue of courage. Before we get to it, mental health through yoga and expressive arts, I wish to acknowledge our privilege to convene, live, create on the lands where I am of the Anishnawbe, the Haudenosaunee, the neutral peoples, and all historical caregivers named and unnamed. Check out native-lands.ca for a map of whose lands you may be residing on that are named, and of course the unnamed historical peoples. We honor the care they've offered the lands, airs, and waterways as we continue to do the same, thinking of future generations. If you're playing along in Yoga for the Creative Soul, we're on page 121 and 122 and 123 today, just finishing up the chapter. There is a yoga pose and asana practice that spans those pages. I am recording that in a separate video that you'll find in the practices folder here on my YouTube channel. And before we begin talking about that virtue of courage, that embodied state, that divine quality, let's center into our bodies with some breathing. So whether you want to ground, stand up, feel your length against gravity, whether you want to recline, feel your whole body being drawn to the center of the planet, or seated, of course, just some stable, comfortable position that lets your lungs fully expand in all directions each time you breathe in. Noticing through the inhales, the expansion, the movement, the space that is being created through the chest, all the way through the length of that rib cage. Movement front, sides, and back, remembering that fullness at the abdomen, the lower lobes of the lungs, the movement of the diaphragm. And the exhale empties from that place. Navel draws towards the spine, or eases, relaxes towards the spine as the ribs contract and the chest lowers. So you're feeling that full motion of the breath, but setting attention to the center of the chest, and or perhaps the corresponding place in the back of the body. Between the shoulder blades, at the level of the anatomical heart. We're sensing and feeling this place in the body, the heart area, whether anatomical beating heart or central, the energetic center of the heart in yoga, Anahata chakra, associated with love. So those on this Bhakti path, the path of emotion, very heart-centered type people, associated with grief, also with the divine quality of joy. And core, in many languages, this sound is in the name of the heart. In French, it's cœur. Pardon my accent. And core, the root of that word that means heart, is courage, core, courage. So if we're thinking about courage as a divine quality, then we're thinking about what it feels like in the body to stand up for what's right, to make the choices that bring us the deepest fulfillment, facing challenges, even those everyday challenges like eating enough vegetables or drinking enough water, making time for yoga practice. This steadiness, this consistency requires courage. So as you take just a few more inhales, feel that embodied sense of stability or strength, bravery, fortitude, commitment, however you would define it. Feel that empowerment within you. And if it helps, you can bring the arms up a little higher, maybe like cactus arms, goalpost, or maybe right up overhead, maybe hands in temple pose while they're up there. But we're feeling a broadness through the chest that brings strength, courage through the entire body. Also, perhaps noticing thoughts, noticing emotions that accompany this quest for that felt sense of fortitude, courage. There may be different kinds of thoughts and feelings all happening at once. Those mental movements are held in the observant stability of courage. No matter what position you're in, step movement into the next inhale and raise those arms all the way overhead, spreading the fingers wide up there, and then taking some lateral movement, little side bend one way. If you're on the floor, you just move your legs over to one side, keeping your heels on the ground. Side bending the other way. And you can repeat this a few times before just twisting yourself around in a self-hug, revolving through the spine as the arms wrap around the torso, and then going the other way. Before coming into your expressive space and in some way depicting that breathing courage activity. Maybe draw a comic strip, write dialogue for a puppet show or a play. You can just scribble on a page with your non-dominant hand or dance it across the room. However you want to express in some way, depict what that was for you. And I know that's maybe a broad or vague kind of question. That's where the scribbling comes in handy. Don't have to think about it. Just make marks on a page. During these expressive activities, we're noticing but not attaching to the cues in our breath. When is it smooth? When does it stop? When does it catch? When is it deep? And noticing also thoughts and feelings as we express ourselves. Those kinds of movements of the monkey mind, those thoughts and feelings, are background noise, as the focus is the expressive activity, in some way depicting or creating, expressing what it was like during that breathing activity, on that quest for courage. It would be human if, when expressing courage, some of the things that interfere with it occurred. And right now we can lightly witness those things, acknowledge their presence, but remain focused on what it was like in the focus, in the relaxation of those deep breaths and feeling at the heart. Think about, even in this moment, as we are expressing creatively what an experience was like, it might shine a light on how living into our creative selves, or being our true selves, also takes courage. We begin each of these weekly workshops and do our best to end them with check-ins. How is everyone doing? Highlights of the week, curiosities or intentions that people are carrying through life. And today's theme, Off Camera, seemed to bring us thoughts of consistency, of the importance of practice, of facing challenges in life and remaining embodied, connected to who we truly are throughout whatever life brings. In its own way, life itself requires courage. And someone who's on the Bhakti yoga path, this is a heart-centered person, maybe identified as highly sensitive or empathic. And folks who've been through intensities of trauma, especially early in life, would tend to have an intense relationship with emotional reality, with feeling. So yoga, in contemplating the path of Bhakti yoga, gives us insight, tools, and strategies to support ourselves in maintaining health and peace of mind as we experience life from the emotional realm. There is great power to be found in the heart of our emotions. See, grief can bring us to joy, and terror to courage. Love and connection is a divine truth of life. This concept exists across traditions. But it takes bravery. It takes bravery to be vulnerable, to be ourselves, to express ourselves. And how do we find that courage if we've been wounded in the past? Here on this Bhakti path, the path of the heart, we can use the felt sense to connect us to courage and let courage inform our love. Have the internal fortitude to be ourselves, even when it means setting uncomfortable boundaries, saying no, taking quiet time, or on the flip side of that, reaching out to others. The asana practice there at the end of chapter 8 in Yoga for the Creative Soul is to help connect to the lion-heartedness, to harness the power of Simhasana, lion pose, which is also a breathing practice. And for those who have studied Pratyahara, who have some experience with sense mastery, you will notice deeper insights about the connection of senses to divine reality as well. The eyes are prominent in a lion pose. The mouth, the tongue are prominent. So probably the sinuses are as well. Now, moving on from this creative activity, optionally, you can do a quick doodle, maybe stick figures, maybe aspects of nature, but depict or represent yourself in a moment of courage. So just quickly, without much thought, doodle something that shows you being brave, standing up for yourself, others, or a cause, facing a fear, limiting procrastination, doing something you didn't want to do. There are many ways that courage comes into our lives, many large and small ways that it shows up. So we're almost done. I said quickly, doodle it off, finishing touches, and set that aside. As you set that, I know I'm not in the room. When I'm facilitating live, it's easier for people to set things aside because I start making circles around the room. But the reason we do these flash expressive activities, quite rarely in this group actually, but perhaps more in session this would happen, in psychotherapy expressive arts session, that we don't have time to filter our experience. It's get it in, get it out. And notice as you have set aside that doodle, think about it, think about yourself making that happen, setting it aside. Notice what you feel in your body and breath, because there's something about the rajas, if you know your gunas, the overactivity of creating quickly that brings things to light, also with that rajasic quality, with that energetic quality, brings it to the surface. And then through our practice, we're connected to sattva, which is balance, which is purity. So as the emotion, the past belief that we no longer need, the memory that's holding us back, as it pops to the surface and we meet it with love, with kindness, compassion, purity, insight, it dissipates very quickly. So that's a benefit of a rapid expression and setting it aside. And in this case, you were expressing something beneficial, something empowering. So if you wish, fold this up and put it in the pocket of your purse or wallet, hang it on the inside of a cupboard. And every day when you glance at this doodle, make a shape that represents it or enact somehow what you put on the page. This has a clear and instant effect on the autonomic nervous system and on our neurological pathways, as well as our psychology and emotions. So we make the expressions and then we find a way to keep that with us, to inspire ourselves to be more of who we truly are, which is also the path of yoga. Arising then from the breathing practice, from both of the expressive activities, if there is an affirmation, a mantra, a single word or concept, and it could just be courage itself, write this word or brief phrase down on a fresh piece of paper. And as you are writing it, feel the sounds of this word or phrase soaking in. You can whisper those sounds, those phonemes, the letters, as you are writing each one, taking great care with how you are printing it out, drawing it out, depicting it. And as you see it and form it, as you whisper it and hear it, this sentiment that might be important for this stage of your growth right now might be important for you connecting to your inner wisdom and boundaries. It soaks in very deeply because we're using all of the senses, or most of the senses, in the expression. Thinking it, writing it, saying it, hearing it, seeing it, feeling it, breathing it. And as you are whispering it, absorbing it, you might notice it having an impact on your state of mind, harmonizing you with the truth of your courage, of your lovability. And if and when you are finished writing that word or that phrase, you can continue to gaze upon it softly. You might decide to hold it up at eye level, softening your face, clearing your brow, letting the eyes even unfocus, jaw relaxed, breathing, whispering this sentiment. And that is also a practice that you can weave into your daily, weekly routine. Before we sign off today, on camera, I'm opening it to the group if there's anything anybody wishes to share with those who are watching the video. Now is your chance.
Sure.
Hi, Dean.
So there's my heart, and that's a big B in the middle for boldness, and that's a big smile across it, and the yellow represents light. And then I express it by leaping off the ground and flying. And I actually, I was ahead of the game on the mantra, but with boldness, I open my heart to love and light. And that's that.
Beautiful. Thanks, Dean. And I appreciate the example of how our expressive arts activities are so resonant with so many other people. What beautiful depictions and messages that we can all take to heart, and yet how uniquely personal. You'd never be able to go into a poster shop and find a bee and arrows and a heart surrounded by the yellow light and having the grin as a foundation. That's I'm just really thankful for the chance for us all to express ourselves uniquely, and turn the floor back over to you.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, it's this game. Go ahead, Karen. You were the one that I saw come in first.
Okay, so I did this whole experience in child's pose, and I was doing like different versions with arms to the side and arms, you know, stretched overhead, and then doing the side bends and everything from child's pose. And so I really liked the input of the forehead on the ground and the settling of the thoughts that way. And what came to mind is I am. And so I made this mandala. And you can see the border is all I am. And then the inside, I just started writing different things that were just coming into my mind. And so instead of writing one mantra, you know, then you ask for the mantra, and I'm like, well, I could just pick something every day from there. And then as to how I was feeling being brave, I'm doing a handstand. So in our in this class we're doing building up the strength for handstand and kicking up into handstand. And I've been doing it, you know. It's something that, like, am I gonna flop over? You know, but I've just been doing it, and so that's it.
Thank you. Observing how in both of those sharings, the courage, the expression of courage had a playful element to it that just it hits me close to home. So thank you for that.
Good. Hi.
Hi, Kate.
Hi. So for the first thing, I did this. I was just lots of thoughts in my head, so I felt grounded, like my body was grounded, but my brain wouldn't turn off. So that's like I get depiction of my brain, I guess. And then when you told us to write the mantra or something, I wrote, no, I don't want to do that. My sister's best friend called me yesterday and said, hey, can I come visit you? I won't bring your sister with me. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And then I just wrote the word love for the word courage, love. I think love takes a lot of courage. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, love does in a lot of different ways. So thank you, everybody, for sharing your experiences, so that we can harmonize and see ourselves in you, but also feel acceptance for however we were expressing, to know that there's options, there's variety, and insight. So much appreciated. Thanks to all who are here live every Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern. Check out the link in the description below and subscribe, hit the bell so you'll know the next time the video is posted. The lion pose practice, Simhasana, is in a separate video in the practices playlist. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. Thank you so much.